I do feel like no matter what you're doing, you have to market yourself.
It's a new week and a new episode of the Skid Steer Nation podcast. And I got to say, I'm pretty excited. We started this last year and we had an idea of just bringing some business owners on and having some conversations and learning from all of them and sharing all of that knowledge with you guys out there. We've just hit episode 36 today. So not quite 52, which is kind of the goal to get to that first year under your belt, but we're definitely on track for that. And I'm excited by our progress. Thank you guys all for listening and sharing the podcast. If you're not sharing it, please share it. Also, if you've got half a second and you like the podcast, it really helps us with our rankings, whether it be on Spotify or Apple or whatever. If you could just write a review, we'd love 5 stars, but we'll settle for 4. Anyway, those reviews help us. It helps us get found by other business owners, people in the excavation industry when they're looking for podcasts to help improve their business. So please take just a half a second and write a review for us for the Skid Steer Nation podcast. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by, wait for it, Skid Steer Nation. As you guys know, anyone that's been listening to this, I own Skid Steer Nation. It is an online store for you to get high-quality, American-made skid steer attachments. We have a large collection ranging from buckets to augers to trenchers to graders, stump grinders, and the list goes on and on. The difference between us and everybody else is we vet the manufacturers. We interview them. We understand their manufacturing process. I come from a manufacturing background. We make sure that the quality that they put into the product meets and typically exceeds your expectations so that when you're out in the field, depending on this equipment to make money, it will last and be there and work for you. skidsteernation.com. Go check it out. All right, let's dive into this week's interview. Today we have our guest from Central Alabama, Alabaster, Alabama to be precise. His name's Cam Frye. He owns a land clearing company called Acre by Acre. I love the name. And him and his wife have their hands in a few other businesses, agriculture and some things in that regard. We'll probably dig into that a little bit too. But he's been in business now for just a few years, and he's a single owner operator. So he knows the trials and tribulations of what it takes to not only operate a business, but also the equipment. So Cam, welcome to the show and thanks for being a part.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Alabaster, Alabama. Give me some reference points as to where that's located.
You probably know Birmingham. Birmingham's kind of the focal big city of the state. We're about 25, 30 minutes south of Birmingham, depending on how fast you drive and how much traffic you hit.
Okay. So my fiance would be there in 15 minutes. Got it.
Probably, yeah.
So do you service the surrounding areas of Birmingham then, like for residential work?
Yeah. I always say we service all of Central Alabama. So what I know some people have asked before, what does that cover? I always like to say generally about 60 miles in either direction. I just went and looked at a job yesterday that was close to 100 miles away. I have done jobs before that far because we do have the farm and other things. I try to stay closer to home, but with this type of work, you go where the work takes you.
Always go where the work takes you. I have found, though, that even from my personal experience, when we did some work a couple summers to get videos of our attachments. And I did find that when I would say no to jobs that were a little bit too far away, I actually didn't find 2 or 3 jobs to fill that gap. And it was more profitable to stay within my service area and stay true to the area that I committed to working in.
Yeah. So for me, too, it really depends on the scope of the job. If it's something small, then I might respectively decline it. But the jobs that have been that distance, they've been some good paying jobs. So
good jobs.
It's like, I don't want to drive that far, but it's good money. So
yeah, that's awesome. And you come from a construction fab shop background, correct?
Correct. When I first graduated high school back in 2008, I started in the construction field. My stepdad had always been in that world, and that's how I kind of just got drug into it. Started as a pipe fitter helper, soldering copper, just around the welding and pipe fitting industry. We built an addition onto a hospital here locally, and then we went to Tuscaloosa and we built a new federal courthouse with that same company, and then from there, just kind of shifted directions from the commercial or from the construction world because I learned quick that I'm a homebody and didn't realize it. And in the construction world, kind of the same situation. You go where the job takes you, but I didn't want to go that far. So I kind of shifted out of that and went to the fab shop world. And that's where I pretty much spent the rest of my years till 2021 when I started doing this.
Okay. Give me a little background on that fab shop. Did you guys make your own products? Do you custom work?
Yeah, so I worked two different fab shops. The first fab shop I worked at in Pelham, we built big stuff. Primarily what we built was coal dumpers. So they were 60, 80-foot long platforms, 12, 15-foot tall, basically all 100% weld. The top of the platforms was 2.5, 3-inch thick steel plate, and that had rails that bolted to it. And so the purpose of that actual platform, when they would drive the train cars onto them, they would have these locking mechanisms to lock the train car on, and it was attached to this giant gear. And you can look up videos of. I'd never heard of it till we started building it, and I was like, it just doesn't make sense. But they've got these giant gears,
Yeah.
and it literally just takes the train car and rotates it and dumps all the coal out. So we built those, God, back to back to back, and then we built a lot of stuff for the mines. I mean, just it was smaller pieces, but then we would always pre-assemble it, of course, to make sure that everything lined up, because there was always most of the stuff was bolted together. So it was always make sure all that stuff lined up. But it was always big stuff. It was very rare that we did anything small. And business was booming when I started working for them, and then things just kind of started to slow down. The other half of that company was a machine shop, and the fab side kind of just started to slow off. But I mean, the machine shop kept on trucking. So I wanted to get out. Being with the construction background, I didn't want to get the layoff again. So I just decided that I wanted to search for something else. And before it got to that point, because it seemed like that was the direction it was headed, that's when I started with Saginaw Pipe, which is another business here local. They are pretty much the largest steel supplier in the Southeast. So that's the primary thing that they do, but they also have the fab shop as well. So I started in their fab shop, and I worked there for 5 or 6 years. The big thing that we built with Saginaw, you probably know Topgolf. Topgolf's all over the country. And all the big white poles that hold the nets on all around the Topgolf yard, that's what we built. We built those poles. It's kind of the same thing. It was back to back to back. As fast as we could get one job out, we was bringing another one in, and just that was pretty much what we did. Then we also built a lot of batting nets for local civic centers and high schools. We built signs for like Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, so you've been all over making things for different industries, the whole 9 yards. I get it.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
cool.
It was a wide range of things.
So I come from a fab shop background also. Like I ran a manufacturing company for a decade. So, and the one thing that's really neat about that, I'm going to take your take on this, but do you look at the quality of products differently?
Oh, absolutely. My wife jokes about it all the time, because even if we go to the store, I'm always looking at the welds on the racks or whatever. I'm always kind of critiquing the welds mainly, because that was what I primarily did. So yeah, I'm always looking at that kind of stuff. Even trailers. Yeah, I bought an older gooseneck trailer because the welds were better. You look at a lot of the welds on trailers these days, and you can tell of course, it's all ran downhill, but they do it fast. It's just all about production. Sometimes you look at stuff and it's like, how does that stuff even hold together?
Nope, absolutely. I remember we would do quality control checks on products, and they'd be like, "This is the fail point." They're like, "Why is that?" I'm like, "Well, look at the welds."
Yeah,
and if they fixed it, great. And then every now and then they'd sneak out, and then sure as shit, 6 months later, the customer would call, and I'm like, "Where did it break at?" And I'm like, "That's the same spot we were talking about in the production meetings." That the guy wasn't getting that corner right, or the two pieces weren't lined up right.
Right.
And it's pretty neat how quickly your eye can go to that. You can just notice and see things with all that. But very cool, man. So you ended up buying, was it a What machine did you end up purchasing first?
I have a Caterpillar 299 D2 XHP.
Okay. How do you
So
like the cat?
I went with the big boy.
How do you like the cat?
I love it. We have a smaller Bobcat that we use primarily just around the farm. And so going from that to the Caterpillar was, it was a big difference going from 35 horse machine to 110 horse. It was, it was a big difference.
I tell you what, I live in Peoria, Illinois, and this was the world headquarters for cat for over 100 years. So like I always joke, say 1 out of every 3 of my friends works for Cat Corporate.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of cat in our area. It's crazy. Like I hear from so many guys, especially in the smaller equipment, which in the grand scheme of cat, skid steers are small equipment.
Right.
They just feel like over the last 5 or 6 years, I hear a lot of feedback from people that it's just not built the same way they were 5, 6 years ago. So I'm always curious to see what people's thoughts are on the cat brand, because for years they were just a staple of, quality, durability, and service. And now you're starting to hear little rumors like parts aren't as easy to get. Some of the fail points just seem like they're a little weaker. Functionality is a little different. So I'm always just interested in hearing about that.
The skid steer is a 2017, so it's not a new one.
Okay.
But as far as like I said, that Bobcat we've used around the farm for forever, and going to a newer and a bigger machine, I really didn't know what to expect. But knock on wood, I mean, aside from the normal maintenance and repairs, hoses and tracks and stuff, it's been good. I haven't had any issues out of it. My excavator is a 2021. It's a 306. It's only got 400 hours on it, but kind of the same thing. I can't complain.
Did you debate between the 306 and the 309 at all, or was the 306 the one you wanted to go after?
The 306 is primarily what I was looking at, just because of my trailer size. I'd already bought the trailer. I didn't buy the excavator till about a year in, and I didn't want to upgrade my trailer again. So I was kind of limited. The limiting factor was the weight. I settled with the 306, so I could comfortably haul it.
Yep.
As far as the mulching aspect, I thought about the 309, but I've seen and know a lot of guys that are running 306s with smaller mulchers and brush cutters, and it does just fine. So kind of happy that I settled on the 306, because there have been several jobs where if I had a bigger machine, I wouldn't have been able to do it. It would have been too big. Yeah. But yeah, it's been great for me.
That's fantastic, man. So I'm always curious, especially people, because you guys are in the farming industry also.
Correct.
So when you started Acre by Acre, was it a thoughtful decision on your behalf to start a land management company, or did people that know you start asking you to do work on the side with the equipment you own from the farm?
It was a mixture of both. So we got the equipment. Acre by Acre, our farm name is Hallelujah Acres, which is hence kind of how Acre by Acre was born. We just wanted to kind of follow in that same line, but I didn't want Acre by Acre to be just a standard like mulching, or just we're dedicated to one particular service, which is why we also went the land management route. I wanted our name to encase everything. So we got the equipment in the beginning. Really, for us, we have 48 acres that we farm, and just over the years, all we had was a tractor and a bush hog, and time gets away from you. I mean, it's amazing how fast a pasture can grow up. Once it gets so big, the bush hog will cut it, but then you got stobs sticking up everywhere, and it's not the efficient way to clear it. I shouldn't say just because we have a land clearing business now that all the pastures are cleared, because that's
too busy doing everybody else's pastures, not enough time for your own.
But it's kind of like with the farm. I started doing stuff around here and just posting on the social media, and they're like, hey, and that's where a lot of business came from, was farm customers. That once they realized we had the equipment, then they started asking if I could do work around their house, and that's kind of been where business has gone for me, is word of mouth, and just trying to do good work. And it's taking me to where I am now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I find that you hear that a lot, like when people start a business, and not outside of land management even, but their initial circle of people that, like you're in the farming industry. So the farmers, they already have a level of trust and respect with you because you're doing the work they do. Like you get it. And
Right.
I just find that like when you can dive into like that niche, whether you, I mean, even if you're not starting a business, but if you want to go reinvent yourself or start a new service, like look for the people that have the same similar background as you do. If it works, because those people will be more apt to support you than a stranger down the road.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's I always try to find that common ground, and somehow or another, I can talk unintentionally, but somehow or another, we get to talking about the farm, and that usually finds that common ground. And yeah, then it kind of just seals the deal for the customer because they feel more related to me. That seems to be kind of the motto of the year. How many pastures and hay fields and horse pastures that I've opened back up around the borders because privet's just rampant down here. Privet is, I don't know what y'all's overgrown vegetation is up that way, but privet down here. But if you give it a year's time, man, it'll just take over, and it encroaches on the fields. And that just seems to be the thing that I've done this year is taking all that back. So it's usually somebody with not primarily farming the same way we do, but like you said, in that realm of that aspect, having horses, or they have hay fields, something of that realm. Just being able to push that back another 15 feet so they can put up another fence or reopen the fence line. It just makes a big difference.
It does. And it just, going back to like that whole network or the circle of people you run with,
right?
Like I've mentioned it in the show before, but like when I initially got into entrepreneurship, I bought a live music venue, bar, nightclub.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had, a restaurant and another bar. And this was all back in my 20s. But like I did, without even thinking about it, looking back at it now, the 5 people that I hung out with were all bar owners.
Yeah.
Like they got it, right? We could have similar conversations.
Right.
And it's the same thing like with this. If you can find customers that you can relate on a personal level, it's a no-brainer.
Right. Absolutely. It definitely helps.
Yeah. So one of the things you talked about that I said I wanted to kind of dive into today, you mentioned it just a second ago, is that you're very personable, you're good at talking, and that you actually end up closing a lot of projects at a higher cost than what the second bid is.
Right.
And it's all because of your ability to connect and be personal with them. So
right.
Is that by design? Or is there anything you work on to be good at that? Or does it just happen naturally?
No, like I said, I can run my mouth sometimes, and I don't try to. My grandfather was good in sales. He was an insurance salesman. My mom was an insurance salesman. My sister was a car salesman. Now she works in Texas as a general manager for Palm Harbor Mobile Homes. So I always felt like the sales aspect was just in the family, but I never felt like I was a salesman. And I shouldn't say that I feel like I'm a salesman, but I do feel like no matter what you're doing, you have to market yourself. And like I said, it always usually comes back to the farm. We also have 2 little kids. And in a sense, I do try to seek out and get a feel for the customer and see where they work, or, is there something that I can kind of tie myself to them to try to make myself a little more relatable. I worked for a guy down in Verbena, and he specifically said that we had a bigger social media presence than a lot of other companies that he had looked at. And then just after talking to him, we probably talked an hour and a half. And the one of the other guys that had came and looked at his property, they were eventually wanting to put a house out there. And part of what I always tell them is part of my business is to give you an honest quote. But the second part of my business is to give you a second opinion, because a lot of customers, they know they want the property cleared, but how do you want it? How is the most efficient way to do it? Can we bush hog it? Is the growth too big for the bush hog? Can we run through it with the mulcher? What kind of finish are you looking for? Because all those factors play into time and price, of course. Does it need to be completely cleared? What is your end goal? What are you looking for? And, sometimes kind of asking them, looking to see, do they have a budget? If you can kind of sneak that in there, then that gives you a better, as the business owner, that gives you a better price point where, okay, they only have X amount to work with. then let's see if we can explore other options instead of just saying, well, this is how long it's going to take me to do everything. Then backing it back down, can we do a little bit here? What's your primary focus? What are your priorities? Can we start here and do this first? And then absolutely, I've done many projects that before where I just do it once a month. I do a half a day once a month. It splits up their budget. They're able to save that every month. It still keeps my calendar full. I don't mind doing the small half day jobs. But like the guy in Verbena, the first guy came in and quoted him $9,000 to just completely clear 2 acres. Well, they wanted a future home site, so they didn't necessarily want it completely cleared, and they weren't wanting to move out there immediately. So he didn't really want to spend that high of an amount right now because they are also expecting their first. So again, we have 2 kids, so they're expecting another common ground we can meet on and talk and just talk conversation, make conversation. So I ended up getting the job. We mulched it. We mulched the entryway in, and we opened up the 2 acres, left him erratic trees, so he still had some foliage, and it didn't just look barren. But we came in right at $5,000. It saved him 4, and yeah, he was more than happy. He's actually invited us back to do some other stuff for him. So
that's awesome. Yeah, and I noticed a trend when you were talking about all of that I feel like I have to mention. You asked probably 9 questions when you're explaining to me your process. And I feel like that's an area that a lot of guys, they get so excited about the project, or they just want to like get the quote and the job and they want to move on to the next one. They're too busy thinking about the next, whatever that is. Like they don't ask enough questions.
Yeah.
And the question for me, I found the question does 2 things in the sales process, and you're kind of finding it by haphazardly because you haven't really studied sales, you said. But like, one, it gives you just a ton of knowledge so that when you speak, you can speak to exactly the pain problems, the solutions, and the vision and goals that customer has. But 2, when you ask a lot of questions, it actually puts the customer in a mindset that they're driving the conversation.
Right.
Because everybody likes to talk.
Right. Well, just like the job quote I went to yesterday. Yeah, he just a simple message and say, "Hey, I need a quote." And I get out there, and he's a very soft-spoken guy. And I was like, okay, well, like he's not talking much. He just says, "Yeah, we moved out here on the property. I want this around the house cleared." Okay, well, that tells me nothing. I mean, where do you want to go with it? How far out do you want to go with it? What are you looking to accomplish? Well, I just want to be able to see through it. A lot of tall standing pines and oaks, and just completely covered up with a bunch of overgrowth or undergrowth. And that's one of my big questions when you get into a sizable project like that. How far do you want to go? Because like for me to give you, like I said, I try to give honest quote. So for me to give you that quote and what a fair time and price that I think it's going to be, I got to know some boundaries. I also have on X Hunt app. Now it's not 100% down to the property
pretty close
line.
Though.
It's within my experience, it's been about 12 to 15 feet. So for an app, I feel like that's pretty close. I just stay within that boundary of whatever the app says. But you can drop waypoints. And so like yesterday, I told him, I said, if you don't mind, like show me the parameters, how far out you want to go. That way I can get a better feel on time. Because in the end, price depends on time. So we walked to the corners, and in the end, he was running his mouth. I mean, you started off really soft spoken. I thought it was going to be hard to break the ice, but the more we walked, the more we talked, found out where he worked. We kind of met on a common ground there. He had a construction background, talking about the property and, just what their end goal was with it. We walked the corners. He thought it was going to be about 2 acres that he wanted to clear. It turned out it was 7. So like, that's things you need to know, especially for me. If I give you a quote on, you say it's 2 acres, and you say, oh, just go in about 20 feet here. It was 7 acres. There's a little bit of a difference. So then, I dropped all the points on the app as we walked, not telling him that I was doing it. I was just kind of doing that as we go and talk. And in the end, he was like, all right, well, what'd you think? And then I showed him. I was like, well, this is the area that you're wanting to cover. oh yeah, that that really opened it up. That's more than I thought. Okay, well here's the price, and then yeah, he was fine with it. It's just all goes back to me too having a better knowledge of while we're doing the quote and doing little things like that to help me get a better feel for what the aspect of the job is going to be, because your terrain plays a big part too. If you want
Massive.
to say, well, just push it back 50 feet, well, it may be a drop off over there. And again, it all goes back to time. If it's uneven terrain and hilly and dippy, bigger trees here and there, it's time, and time adds
Hardwood
money.
versus softwood, all that.
Correct. Or they'll ask, they'll ask, I made this mistake early on. How big will a tree will it mulch? It'll mulch a big one. How long you want me to spend on it?
Yeah.
That's where it comes into play. Can you eat that tree? Yeah, I can do it. It's going to take about an hour, but I can do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's like that. You know, I always make the joke like you can make a triangle with your hand, and like at the 3 points of the triangle, you can say, I want it fast, I want it cheap, and I want it right. Pick two, right? Like
right,
you're not getting it cheap and right.
right, exactly. Because again, it all goes back to time, and that's another reason why I usually try to ask. And you can get the feel for the customer too. You can kind of know, are they just trying to get the cheapest price possible, or are they wanting the job done right and they're willing to splurge a little bit on their budget to get there?
Yeah. So I'm assuming, like every other business owner, you have done jobs based on price and being the cheapest because either you're starting out or you're having a slow month and you just needed to get some work and some money in. Your personal experience, when you work with the people that are just price driven and want the cheapest price they can get, are they good customers?
Not for me because I don't do the job.
Okay. You've never.
No, I have a set day rate. I have a set hourly rate. When I sat down, I'm licensed and insured. Insurance is expensive. The machines are expensive. I not only have liability coverage on the company, on the business, but all my equipment has insurance. And that alone, that factors in, I feel that factors into my price. I don't discount my day rate or my hourly rate unless you're just a really good friend of mine. I might knock it down $15, $20 an hour or something like that. But that has been very rare. I don't meet the need of the customer that's just trying to get the cheapest price, because at the end of the day, it's my fuel and time to get to you. I have over $200,000 invested in equipment to do the job that you're looking to have done for $100 an hour. I can't do it and I won't do it because I have all my stuff factored in to my hourly rate. I usually don't price it by the hour. I use that as a gauge for me, but my hourly price is double what my cost is. Well, and that goes for anything. That's my tractor, excavator, and the mulcher. Whatever my cost is, I double it, and that's my hourly price. And the way I see it, I can't cut it. If I want to stay in business and I want to continue to supply for my family, and whenever we have breakdowns, because it's going to happen, I got to have that. I mean, that's just where I am.
No, absolutely. And do you have an overhead built into your cost aspect of your business?
Yeah. Okay. So that my cost factor for my mulcher, I factor in the teeth, I factor in fuel, I factor in replacing the tracks.
There you go.
X amount for hoses. I factor in all my insurance, tires on my trailer once a year, truck tires once a year, X amount for fuel, traveling to the job, just a basic average. My price per hour is $220 an hour for mulching. I'm in it 110 to 115 by the time you do grease and other little things. But I feel like I have to double it to make that gap where I can put money aside so we can still pay for the equipment note. We can still pay our monthly salary that we need to function in life and as a family, but also have that money to the side in savings. So when those repairs do happen, I have that set to the side to be able to pull from.
Absolutely. It's key. I mean, you hear that from a lot of business owners that they run, however you have your banking account set up and all that, but like they do not have a dedicated account set aside for repairs, new equipment purchases.
Mm-hmm.
They're running it all out of their operating expense budget. And then when they look at that and go, oh, look, we got 70 grand in there, or 50 grand, whatever the number is,
Right.
we can go afford a new skid steer. And then they forgot that they've also got a bill coming in for 10, 15 grand for this, or the balloon payment for that. And they're like, oh shit, we really didn't have 50 grand in the bank.
Right. Absolutely. That's why early on, that's why I went ahead and started a savings account.
Yeah.
That way I could set those expenses to the side, because it is easy to get blindsided by that. You look in your checking account, like you say, oh, I got 70 grand. Well, in my mind, automatically, just the way I operate, I think, no, I've got half that to actually use. The other half needs to be set to the side.
Yeah.
One other thing that I do just personally, I've always had a business credit card, and I pay through everything through that credit card. Then at the end of the month, I can use the money that I've set to the side to pay off the credit card. I do that personally for one of two reasons. Just so I'm, in case I do have a bad month, I can not pay that credit card off and leave that sitting on there for the time being, and I still have fluid cash in my account in case I need it. But for tax purposes, it is so much easier at the end of the year. You can just go back and pull all your credit card statements. Everything's right there. Everything for the business in one spot.
The bookkeeper loves it when you run your business off a credit card.
Yeah. Well, my wife's the bookkeeper, so
well, then the accountant loves it too. Yeah, but you're right.
Yeah.
It does make it a lot simpler.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. In fact, I kind of do the same. I shouldn't say I do it. I'm migrating my personal life to that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Running everything off a credit card. And one of the reasons why is, we use Amex for our business.
Mm-hmm.
So I also have an Amex for the personal account. I can move the points from account to account.
Right.
Always around. But like, I had not bought a plane ticket in 4 years.
Right. Yeah. And that's
for a plane ticket.
Yeah.
We fly 2 or 3 times a year.
Gotcha. The only reason we didn't go with Amex for that reason is, we don't travel. I don't need the fly miles, but
you can use it for so many things other than that. But I mean, I'm just saying,
gotcha. Yeah,
we just, there's a value to those points.
Right. Absolutely.
Even Discover card, right? The annual cash back.
Right.
You run $10,000 a month through that account.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just for me, I just let those accumulate till the end of the year, and then I cash them out. And we do whatever with them.
Yeah.
But then
it's still a good size number.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then, you get the cash back. So it's a small percentage of what you've actually spent, but also try not to look at the interest that you accumulate as a negative, because at the end of the year, that's also tax deductible. So even though if you
carry a balance.
Yeah. If you carry a balance on your card, then whatever interest that you have accrued, it's just tax deductible. So depending on what your income was for the year, depends on how many checks and balances you need to kind of level out for tax purposes. But that's just something else you can consider. Don't always look at that as a negative.
Yeah, I feel like as business owners, we have to learn that certain debt is okay. To a point. Like, it's not okay. We're going to go crazy in debt, but like, there's certain debt and certain expenses that are actually okay.
Right. That's just like when we added the excavator. Did I want to add another $100,000? But not really. But that was kind of the point of adding that. It was, I'm missing out on so many jobs because I didn't have it. It was the turning point for us for that was when you start getting a bunch of calls of, can you do this? Can you dig stumps? Can you do the full clearing? Well, no, because all I have is a mulcher. So yeah, did I want more debt? No, but it was a necessity. I felt like it was a necessary debt.
Yeah. Was your cat, I'm assuming it's 2017. Is your cat paid off?
Absolutely not.
No.
Because we've only had it for 2 years.
Okay.
But yes, none of our equipment is paid off except for the tractor. The tractor, we've had it for years for the farm. But
do you have, because you're a solo operator, right? Like, you don't have part-time or full-time helpers with you?
Mm-mm.
Did that weigh on you when you were purchasing the excavator because you knew you'd only be operating one of the 2 machines that you're making payments on? And
No, like I've heard before, if you could just do one job a month, it pays the payment. Mm-hmm. So, again, we use the excavator around the farm a bunch too.
Yeah.
When it is parked, it's still getting used. But no, one of the big jobs I did back in the spring for clearing those green fields. I mean, that's what I use with the excavator for. So, I mean, do I use it every month? Not every month. but then some months I use it a bunch. So it weighs itself out.
Yeah. And I'm curious, who owns the equipment, acre by acre or the farm?
Acre by acre.
Okay.
Yeah, the farm just uses it.
I have not done a massive amount of research on this because I do not own a farm, but
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to multiple land management company owners that did have 50-acre, 100-acre farms. And they have told me, because of the farm credits you get, that it's actually more beneficial to own the equipment in the farm name and then lease it to the land management company.
Gotcha.
Because the money you make on the lease, you got to show a profit, right? And all that. But the farm tax credits offset some of that, and it actually saves you a fair amount of money.
Right.
And then the other thing it does is that if you, let's say you go in there and you really mess up somebody's property or destroy a house,
Mm-hmm.
those assets, when you get sued, don't belong to the land management company.
Right. Yeah. Now I guess one reason we didn't structure it that way is because the farm already has so much overhead.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to keep each business separated to their own entity. Just none of our personal things are tied to any one business. But yeah, the farm already has so much going on. We try to keep them all separated, just in their own entities. Everything has its own separate insurance. So I do, I have liability coverage on acre by acre. So heaven forbid something happen.
Yeah.
We have insurance for that.
Yeah, but like if you let's say your machine payment, I'm just going to throw fake numbers out there, $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
The farm rents it to acre by acre for $1,300 a month.
Yeah.
You get the tax break of the extra rental fee, and then you can show a profit on the farm, which actually takes the liability to, an asset because it's an income generating tool.
Right.
And then when you get those tax credits back, you're not paying huge taxes on that $300. So again, I'm not a wizard when it comes to accounting, but I've just heard a lot of people that they sit down and spend a couple hours with an accountant that knows this industry, that sometimes there's some advantageous ways to help you minimize your tax debt at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's all a game. Nobody wants to pay taxes.
What did I just see the other day? And I was like, millionaire hires an artist, commissions an artist to make a painting for $25,000. Donates, gets one of his millionaire friends to appraise the piece at $2 million. Donates the $2 million artwork to a museum. Gets tax write-off. Pays zero taxes this year. Like, I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm like, again, it's a fucking game.
Right. Well, I mean, there's loopholes in there for the uppers to use it. So it's just a matter of us to figure out.
And it's not for the uppers. It's just that they've taken the time or paid somebody to go find them, or we're too busy out doing actual work to sit and read tax code. And the last thing I want to do is borrow my nephew's baby bib to put it on. So when I'm reading tax code, I don't drool my shirt because it's so monotonous and boring.
Right. Yeah. I don't understand all that stuff. I don't care to.
Yeah.
That's what we pay somebody for.
It is, but I mean, I've paid a lot of accountants over the years, and you have to have a baseline knowledge in order to interview the accountants, because when you get the ones that are just like point click by the book, like you pay out the nose. When you get the ones that like think a little bit and say, oh, if we do this and maneuver that, it doesn't raise any red flags, but it'll save you this deduction.
Right.
And like, did you find that accountant by chance, or did you know enough information that you can hire the right guy for your business?
Right.
So I do believe that you have to have a baseline knowledge.
Yeah, because I will say, when we started before Acre by Acre, when we just started the farm, we didn't have that baseline knowledge, and we were trying to find an accountant that was knowledgeable to get us the appropriate tax write-offs for farm credits and stuff. And she said she did, but really didn't. We didn't know that at the time until we found our now accountant. And yeah, he's very knowledgeable. We actually found him through our financial advisors, and he does all that for several higher ups, people that have lots of money and need to move things around to make it the best that they can at the end of the year, so they're not so upside down. So we found him, and he's been great. He was saying, this shouldn't have been in a depreciation. We should have been doing this instead of this. And so we meet with him a couple times a year, especially with the multiple businesses, just to say, take our P&Ls and say, this is where this business is at. This is where Acre by Acre is at. What are we looking at towards the end of the year? And he's like, well, you really need to have X amount of more expenses on this side, so you're not so upside down because your profit margin's increasing, which is fine, but we need to kind of counterbalance that unless you want to pay a bunch of taxes.
Right.
So being able to plug those places where we didn't really know the best way to go has really helped. And just with the business aspect of it, just to be able to have, like you said, have somebody that's level-minded in that and really knows his stuff, because there's no second guessing. You can ask him any one thing and he's like, no, we need to do this or we need to do that. So it's been very helpful having him to be able to do all the things.
Yep. And again, man, having a network of people that do similar work to you, like you being in the farm, like knowing other farmers, that's where I would have started. Who are you using? Mm-hmm. Why are you using them?
Right.
What are some things I should be looking for? Because we don't have any knowledge if we've never done it before. So even guys in this industry, like, man, go talk to the competitors. Like, you guys all know 5 or 10 other guys that do the same work you do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to.
Right.
So like, go meet them, like, or talk to them, have coffee, give them a phone call and just say, hey, we're looking at the accounting aspect. Who do you use? Why did you select them? What questions did you ask? Financial advisor is another great person. But I'm a firm believer that no matter what area of your business you need help with, if we ask enough people that have done similar things or been in the business before us, we can gather enough information to go make educated and smart decisions for ourselves.
Right. Absolutely. Because those decisions, like you say, those decisions can make or break the business, really. Yeah. I mean, knowing where we were with just the farm years ago, as far as the tax filing and stuff, it have been so many things we'd have probably missed out on at this point in our lives with the businesses. Because at that time, like I said, we didn't know. But had we not found our guy now, yeah, we'd probably be in a world of trouble as far as that goes. Not knowing the right way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. The weather changing around here, man.
Oh, yeah.
Sinuses. I don't know. It's funny because like my sinuses run like crazy in the spring and it does it again in the fall when it dries up.
Yeah.
With like constant drip.
This past weekend we were in the 80s. Today we woke up and it was in the 30s, and then by the weekend we'll be back in the 80s. So
Well, we didn't hit the 80s, but I think we hit 70 here in Illinois last week. But this morning it was 28 degrees.
Yeah, kind of the same way here. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing. We got in a little scratchy throat ourselves, but
yeah, yesterday the wind, man, you thought God wanted all the leaves to come off the trees in one day. It was so windy.
I know. That's what I was just joking with my wife about last night. Whenever it gets cold, it's like we have 80 miles an hour winds, but when it's 100 degrees outside, there ain't a breeze inside.
I know. You just got to sit in it like you're in a bowl of Jello, man. That's what because we have such bad humidity up here. Like it's like Florida. I'm like, God, it's like you're just sitting in Jello. You can just feel the air.
Yeah, that's the way it was this summer for us.
Yeah. So you said your wife and you are on paper both owners of Acre by Acre.
Correct.
And she's a majority owner?
Yeah, it's a 51-49. She's the 51.
Why is she 51?
Because she is technically a minority business owner, being a female.
That's what I was hoping you'd say.
That was told to us by our accountant guy. That we needed to structure it where she was primary owner because she's female.
Yeah, and I don't know about tax breaks and all that, but if you ever start doing work with governments or agencies in your area and all that, females, veterans, people of color, all of those get. Yeah. I hate to use the word preferential treatment.
Yeah.
But like they say, hey, these we're wanting to help these smaller groups get better at business. So there's certain bids that you and I can't bid on as a primary owner of a business.
Correct. My father-in-law worked for the Pyre company for, close to 40 years before he passed. And, that's what he used to tell us all the time. He said, any of the right-of-way work that they get hired in to do, he worked at one of the main complexes right here close to home by the Shelby County Airport. And they were always having contract work done around the complex, different things. And that's what he always said. He said, they specifically seek out those businesses, whether it's a female owned business or if it's African-American owned business, they, even though the power company is as big of a company as they are, they strive to hire the small business or the minority
There's
business
incentives
owners.
for them from the government for that too.
Yeah, gotcha.
But like, I mean, I always make the joke, and I get some really weird looks from it every now and then, typically from people that aren't in the business, owning a business realm. But I'm like, man, if you're a person of color, a female, and a veteran,
yeah,
there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing $1 million a year in business and whatever the hell you do, because
right,
like it's like it's like a golden ticket, like the Willy Wonka ticket to do business with the United States government.
right, yeah. So we haven't been able to get into doing any of the commercial bid work yet. Maybe that'll come. I know some good friends of ours that they maintain gas line right of ways. But yeah, we went ahead and structured the business that way. So if when that opportunity does present itself, maybe we'll have the leg up to be able to get that kind of work.
Yep, that's fantastic. Wow, we're covering quite a bit of topics. I like it. I'm really enjoying the conversation today, Cam. Really enjoying it.
Yes, sir.
I feel like we've hit that point in the conversation, like a big fence post. The English teachers used to call it like the fence post to transition to the next topic. And I'm just like, I don't even know what I want to talk about now.
I told you I can talk sometimes.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. So you've got the farm, you've got acre by acre. Your wife pretty much runs the Frye. What is it called again? Frye Farms, where you take
Farmer Frye,
where you guys help kids learn about farms, animals, and not a petting zoo, but actually what they do and how they work and things of that. And then you guys have 2 small children.
Yeah, my oldest will turn 3 in about a week, and then we have a 5-month-old.
How do you balance work and life?
I have been very thankful that we were able to start Acre by Acre when we did. It was a situation that just kind of fell in our lap. It was tough when we had our first son. I was still working at Saginaw, and doing the work that we did, we were always working overtime and trying to do the things we wanted to with the farm, and then introducing a new baby. It was a big struggle, a work-life balance, because we don't live the normal life. Aside from our business and just day-to-day life, the farm takes a lot. And we knew early on that we wanted to continue to grow the farm, but it was always the balance of time. And when we were able to step out and do Acre by Acre, I don't feel that Acre by Acre will ever grow to a multi-million dollar company like some of these big other companies are. And the reason I say that is because we have so many loose ends that we're constantly trying to tie up. And then really trying to balance my jobs with life here at home, not only with the farm, but to also give the boys majority of my time. And that was one thing that I really wanted to be able to do that I wasn't able to do with Saginaw, because I was working all the time, 6 days a week. And
well, Cam, I have one piece of advice to you, and I share it with everybody when they make a comment like what you did. Comparing yourself to other companies that are growing or doing more in business and all that is a surefire way to feel terrible about yourself, because there's always going to be a bigger gun in the arsenal. Right. But the true definition of success is building a business that provides you with the life you want.
Yeah.
And if it's just you and a machine and no employees, and you end up doing $400,000 a year, $200,000 a year in services, but it gives you all the time to spend with your family, and that's exactly what you want, then you're more successful than the guy doing $3 million a year, because he's probably sacrificing family time to build that business. So everybody I meet, I'm like, listen, the level success is defined by your vision.
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Last year, of course, that was my first full year in business, and we were able to do last year's salary by May this year. So business has been great, but again, it's just me. So it's still, I have a goal of a certain amount that I want to make every month, just so we could pay our salary, our monthly personal salary. We can pay for the equipment, and then I have added in for expenses and stuff. But yeah, that's been the biggest thing with me, is still doing enough jobs to make that goal that I want to hit every month, but being able to take off when I need to and not somebody fussing at me because the hogs are out or I need to run home or just it's rainy and thankful that I have had customers that are understanding with those things too. And I feel like always being staying in touch with your customer no matter what the aspect is and saying, hey, I've got you on the schedule for next week. I'm running a little bit behind. Are you okay with this day and this day? But if there's something that comes up at home, still staying in touch with the customer and just letting them know what's going on, but being able to develop that relationship with the customer when you went and bid the job, I feel like that carries on not only through your quote, but just like for that instance for scheduling. Yeah, if I'm a month booked out, here's why. It's not because I work 40 hours a week. I shouldn't say never. I've worked 7 or 8 days straight because we had good weather and I knew bad weather was coming and I just needed to get caught up. But for the most part, it's a big balance for me, a balance in our personal life with the business life and still being successful financially.
No, I love that, man. I feel like you've got a good vision for what your life should look like and how you want to live it every day. And you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk with the way you're operating your business too. So that's pretty awesome. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. You're talking to a kid. He's 25 years old, union operator somewhere, wants to start a business. What do you tell him?
Don't be afraid to get your hands wet. There is a lot of financial sacrifices you have to make in the beginning. Like I said before, equipment's not cheap. But I guess to start with, do you have any background knowledge on operating the equipment? How do you feel you'll do being out on your own? Because there's a big difference for always working for somebody, but then do you still have that drive and motivation when you're out there by yourself? You've quoted this customer $5,000 because you think it's going to take 2.5 days. And then you get out there dilly dallying around. You're not pushing yourself. I'm not saying tear up your machine, but you're not pushing yourself. And then you end up costing yourself in the end because, well, I ain't got nobody to tell me what to do. I'm out here by myself doing on my own. I don't have to push myself anymore. I would say, like kind of like you said before, try to reach out to somebody close that you might could talk to that if you have zero business knowledge, maybe somebody you could get a little advice from. I feel like I had a little bit of advantage starting just because of my background with the construction. I was always already familiar with the equipment, being able to run everything. But yeah, just when you go to look at a job, you don't know what the heck you're doing in the beginning. I ain't gonna lie. I've never bid a job before. I've always been in a fab shop. Like they bid that job. I didn't do it. So maybe you got a buddy down the road that needs some work done. Because at the end of the day, time is money. And you've got to know how to properly charge. The best way to know how to properly quote a job is experience. I'm still learning. There's some stuff still sometimes when I go to quote a job and I'm kind of dumbfounded on maybe how long exactly it's going to take because there's always so many factors that play into it. So, and maybe you got a buddy down the road that's got some property. Go down there and just see if he'll pay for your fuel, and you can figure out some time on how long it'll take. Because that's what I did.
And I'm gonna add a note in there. Get a notebook and track it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
The shortest pencil still works better than the longest memory.
Yep, absolutely. That's we had a 2-acre field back here in the back. It was just overgrown with some pine saplings. And that's how I pushed myself out there. I took before and after pictures. I always take before and after pictures. And here lately I've gotten, I shouldn't say big. I feel I'm just a little person, but I've gotten big on TikTok, just doing before and after videos. My TikTok is Acre by Acre LM. So you can kind of, if you want to, if you're on there, you can venture into that world and see kind of what I mean as far as the before and after videos, just trying to be creative with how you present yourself on social media, because social media is a big driver, I feel. Not many people aren't on social media these days. But I just did before and after pictures of that field back here in the back. And yeah, I went out there after work a couple days, and till I was done, I just kind of tracked of how long it took me, like you said, how long it took me to do it. And then I went and started quoting jobs. Some of them I came in a little bit above. I usually try to quote the job a little bit higher than what I really feel like it's going to. And sometimes the customer will be more than pleased if you get the job done quicker than you want to. You have enough of that overhead cushion, and you say, hey, I finished faster than I thought. I'm gonna knock $500 off. Really? I
Man,
mean,
that's the best marketing you can do for yourself, because it shows your trustworthiness, you're honest, and everybody loves to get a discount.
right, right. But for the young person starting, yeah, I would say, especially to me, that would be the biggest as far as being able to get out there working by yourself. You've got to get started somehow learning how long it's going to take you, because that's in the end, that's where it's going to be with quoting the job, knowing how long it's going to take you.
Cam, let me ask you a question. I don't want the details of the jobs. I just want to know, like, which one, like how long it takes you to think of this. If I asked you right now, tell me the most successful and best job you ever did that went the smoothest, would you have to think about that for a minute?
No.
Okay. What if I asked you for the absolute worst experience that you've ever had, whether it be bidding, project, working, and all that? Do you have to think about that one?
No.
Yeah. I was hoping you said you'd have to think about the first one because you didn't know which job it would be, because like nobody forgets when you fail, man.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, like, we don't learn when we hit our marks. We learn when we don't hit our marks.
Right.
And everybody that's dialed in estimating and costing and all that, it's because they didn't at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, the reason I don't have to necessarily think about the best job is because it's the one that just stood out the most. Like I said before, I've been blessed really to have really good customers. And I know you asked that in the beginning about cutting my price to meet the customer needs. It's not that I don't try to be accommodating to the customer. I know everybody has a budget, but at the same time, my price is set for what I have to make.
Yeah.
So,
and Cam, I asked that question because from my personal experiences and from a lot of guys I've talked to, like it's called the 80-20 rule. And it's like 80% of 20% of the people in a group will do 80% of the work, vice versa.
mm-hmm.
But it's very applicable to customers too, where the top 20% of your customers, you'll make 80% of your profits. And the bottom 20% of your customers will provide you with 80% of your headaches.
Right. And that's where I was kind of going with that, as far as the customers who understand the cost of this business. So if you don't do it, you don't know. And then that's fine. If you're just searching for the cheapest option, that's fine. Like, I understand everybody's got a budget, but I've been very grateful to have customers that are understanding of this business and are understanding that what the equipment costs. And I've had a couple good jobs. I shouldn't say a couple. I've had several good jobs, but the one that stood out the most, he also owned an asphalt paving company, and he got it. He straight up told me, he's like, yeah, I'm not expecting a sugar coated kind of quote.
Yeah.
I have a business that doesn't exactly have the same equipment you do, but I have employees. I have a paving company. Like, I get it.
Yep.
And yeah, he was great. He went well over and beyond to take care of me, more than I asked for.
That's awesome. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, Cam, I want to be respectful of your time. We've been talking for about an hour now. I
didn't realize it's been that long already.
It just flew right by, man.
Yeah, it sure did.
Just flew right by. So, no, this has been great. I loved hearing your story. I know before the interview kind of started, we talked about, a little bit more in depth with your wife and the businesses. It's pretty cool. You guys get to work as a team, growing the life that you want to grow, whether it be through Acre by Acre or the farm, which I can't remember how to pronounce the name now. Sorry.
Hallelujah Acres.
Yeah. Or the Frye, the Frye farm. So it's really awesome. It feels like whether it happened by on accident or on purpose, like it feels like you got a good architect for the life that you want to live with the family, and it's pretty cool. So
yes, we've always said if it's meant to be, it'll happen. And like I said, Acre by Acre, just kind of the opportunity presented itself when it did, and it just fell in our lap. And it was one thing that just working the land with the farm, I've always loved doing it. Always loved seeing something that looks a mess and then you make it better.
Yeah.
And Acre by Acre was born. So,
yeah, I think with faith and persistence, you can't fail.
oh, absolutely. That's what we are. That's what the farm is based off of, and that's what we try to base our life around. So
that's awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us on the show today. I really appreciate it.
no, not a problem. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, you guys listening out there, if you enjoyed the show, do me a favor, share it with your friends, your family, anybody you know in the industry. Hell, I have a lot of people that just own businesses that listen to this because of the conversations we have about accountants or marketing and all that. So it doesn't have to always just be somebody in the excavation world. And don't forget to write us that review. It would really mean the world to me. And if you guys have any input or you've learned something from the show, please feel free to reach out to us, our social media channels, our website, wherever you want, and send us a note. I love getting those from guys that are implementing things that like Cam and I talk about, and they put it in their business and it's successful for them. So share all those stories with us as well too. So until next week, go to skidsteernation.com and get your next skid steer attachment.